Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you again this evening. It's been a little while since I've done one of these live talks, but I really wanted to have a chance to connect with people again. There's been a couple things that have happened lately in my life that made me think um, about the word reboot. Before I get to that, just want to say I just watched another newscast about the situation in Lebanon. It feels so overwhelming, and I feel really sad for the people that are trying to live through that situation. It makes my life feel so easy. I just can't really explain that enough. Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago, we went camping, and it was a lot of fun. It was really great. And we went to the beach a couple times, and one time we went to the beach, and I took my camera, took some great shots, and it was fine. Came back, got my phone working again, plugged it in, and it was fine. Took it again the next time, and not to the beach again the next time. Started it up the next day, and all of a sudden it went beep, 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 and that's never a good sign, is it? Uh, Basically, it said that there was some water, some kind of moisture had gotten into the phone or gotten into the USB charger. So that was a bit of a problem because we were away and there's not much I could do about it. So I tried it again with a different charger, still the beep, beep, beep. Waited and tried it a different time and let it sit a little bit longer, still the beep, beep, beep. So I decided, okay, I'll turn it off and wait. So waited till the next day. Thought, okay, now, it's been a chance for the water to go beep, beep, beep. Still can't use it. So I decided I'll just run it out until it's gone and then bring it home and take it to the shop. So I brought it home and it did, in fact, run out of power. Brought it home and called my friend Mark, who said, well, why don't I come out and get it out in Overton? I'll come out and get it for you, and then I'll take it to the shop for you because I couldn't get into town, but he could. So that was fantastic. That was a real blessing because I couldn't get there easily, and I'd already been without it for about 2 days at that point. And if you've never experienced being without a mobile, it isn't easy, is it? Anyway, so Mark took it back to the office where he works in our church offices, and he had a little fan kind of thing there on his desk, and he blew it into the into this part right here. Blew it into that, plugged it in, and of course, lo and behold, it started right up. There must have been some kind of little bit of dust, a little bit of something in there. Of course, in my mind, I'm thinking the worst. I'm thinking, oh, the phone's done. I'm going to have to get a new one. How's that going to work? How much is it going to cost? On and on and on. Lo and behold, it was absolutely nothing. He contacted me later that night. He said, hey, do you want your mobile back? I said, sure. He's like, it's all good. And it's been fine ever since. So I was really happy about that. So that was one thing. The phone just needed a little bit of a rejig. I have a toy here with me. This is Blue Blue. And Blue Blue makes this noise. Of course, she's not making the noise right now because I think she might be turned off. Anyway, Blue Blue used to make a bit of a noise and then it would stop. And then and it would stop again. It would make this dolphin sound. And then it just stopped altogether. And Amy wanted me to fix it. And of course, I couldn't get to it. And I was changing a bunch of batteries the other day on a whole load of different toys. And I undid the bottom of Blue Blue's to pull out the batteries. And the problem was that two of the batteries had come just a little bit disattached. When a battery fits snug, it works. But when it's not snug, it doesn't work. And so I just popped them back in, pressed the button, and off Blue Blue went. Blue Blue was absolutely fine. He just needed a little bit of a reboot, a little bit of a jiggle with the batteries, and it was fine. The third thing that made me think of this idea of sometimes we need a reboot and thoughts about that was this past Sunday. We had our first church gathering in person in a long time. I think it's been since March since we had our last gathering, since we've been through lockdown. And now we're able to do that again. So I got there early on Sunday morning to the St. Luke's Hall to set up and looking forward to seeing people. And it was, a joyous occasion. Even though people are wearing masks, even though it feels different and we're not allowed to sing, it's still a great thing to gather as a church family. So I did all the setup that I could do with the sound and so forth, and I had my computer ready to go. I got the projector out, and I plugged the HDMI cable into the projector, and it didn't work. I thought, okay. So I tried it again, and it still didn't work. So then it's like, okay, we'll try a different computer. And lo and behold, that computer didn't work either. The HDMI cable wasn't working right. So I called my friend Richard, or I told him once he got to the meeting, he said, hey, go home and get an HDMI cable. So he did. He drove back home, and he came back with one. Meanwhile, everybody's filing in, and they're already there, ready for the gathering. Everybody's chatting, and I'm just like, I'm not ready to go yet. All of a sudden, things aren't working right. So he gives me the new cable, and I plug that in, and go to plug it into the projector, and all of a sudden the music stops. There'd been music playing in the background. Well, it was music coming from my computer, and I realized my computer stopped. Just sort of out of nowhere, my computer's died. Haven't been having any trouble with it at all. And it just stopped. So, you press the button, you press Control Alt Delete, you turn it on, you turn it off, you close the lid, you do all those things that you do to a computer, and nothing worked. It was not going to turn back on. I was so frustrated. Here we are, first gathering in a long, long time. We're talking months, since March. I'm all prepped for this. I'm all excited about this. People are there. They're excited about this. They want to gather. They want to worship. They want to open up the Bible and hear what it has to say. And so I was really frustrated. Went outside and prayed with Rebecca, and she calmed me down, and we prayed for a solution. I came back in, remembered to have my mobile with me, which now works. And I also had tossed a little speaker into my bag before we left the house, which I'd forgotten about. So I said, I'll play it through the speaker. That'll be great. And it actually worked out okay. We had the music. We didn't have the video because the projector didn't work because of the HDMI cable. Well, again, I thought, okay, yeah, my computer's probably in trouble now. Some major thing has happened to it. How long will I be without it? It's really hard to be without a computer just in regular life. It's super hard to be without a computer during lockdown when almost everything is online or it's on Zoom. And we had a Zoom meeting that night, which I had to handle. So I asked my friend Dave to look at it. He looked at it and said, no, it looks to me like the power stuff is all okay. He's an electrician, so he knows all that. He said, but why don't I take it to Colin? And Colin is a guy who works for the churches as well. He's our IT person. But he was willing to drive it to Colin for me. Again, I couldn't drive it into town very easily. Took it to Colin. And so I thought, okay, well, Colin's a good guy. He can work on it. That'll be great. But it'll probably be a while till I get one. Meanwhile, another guy from church offered me to borrow a computer, which was great. So I borrowed one. He drove it over to me because he knew I couldn't get to him. I can't really drive places very easily right now, evidently. So he got me a computer, which I used that night, which didn't work all that well because he was signed into it and so on, and so I didn't have the right responsibilities on Zoom, and it was just clunky. And I thought, oh man, how long am I going to be without a computer? I was without a mobile, but then that got fixed. And contacted Colin to say, hey, how's it going? He's like, yeah, it's all good. I was like, what? This is the next day. I said, what happened to it? He's like, well, I couldn't really find anything wrong with it. I got it back to my place and I started it up and it worked. So what I did is I changed the operating system, updated that, a couple other glitches maybe that I found that were small, and you're good to go. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I said, are you home? He's like, I'm going to be home if you want to come pick it up. And I was already in town, so I was able to go pick it up and get it back on the Monday, meaning I lost it on the Sunday, got it back on the Monday. You know what I needed and what the computer needed was a reboot. It didn't need much more than that. It just needed a little bit of a fresh start. I think what happened was it got really upset at the HDMI cables being put in and out, and it blew a couple of the drivers, and all of a sudden it wouldn't work. I thought it was a fatal thing. I thought, oh, the computer's dead. Not at all. I thought the mobile was dead. Not at all. Amy thought Blue didn't work. Not at all. Those things just needed a reboot. I guess my question is, have you ever needed a reboot anytime during this lockdown or another time in your life? Or maybe something happened to you without anything that you could do about it, without your planning, that caused you to have a reboot. Maybe it's a loss of job or an illness to you or to a family member, to a good friend. Maybe it's trying to figure out how to work from home during lockdown, or trying to figure out what you do with the children each day, all day during lockdown, and how do you handle childcare, all those things. They all cause us and almost force us to do some kind of reboot in our life. I thought of that saying, when you get lemons, do you make lemonade or do you make a sour face? And sadly, I made a sour face with my mobile and with my computer, but God had a different plan. He wanted to get them back in my hands so I could carry on doing what I was doing. It's tough when you have a reboot in life, and especially if it's a situation like I just mentioned, a serious illness or a job loss or a death in the family, something like that. But it causes you to rethink. It causes you to look at how you're doing things and how you're thinking about things. And I thought about the Bible. I thought of this great story where Jesus was walking one day, and he was hot, much like this today in England. It's a hot day. We're in a really hot stretch. He was hot, he was tired, and he sat down at a well in the middle of the day, which is an odd thing in some respects to do, because he was a bit in enemy territory. He was in Samaria, where he as a Jew wasn't necessarily wanted there. Anyway, a lady came to the well too at an odd time, because she was on her own. She wasn't with the other women. So some alarm bells are going off there right away. One, you've got a man and a woman at a well. One, you've got a woman who's there at an odd time, meaning she must have been some kind of ostracized from her community. And then you had them talking. So Jesus asked for a drink. Normal thing to do, isn't it? And she said, okay, I can give you a drink. But why are you here? Why are you in this area? Why are you a Jew here in Samaria? And then he said, well, you know what? If you knew who I was, if you knew who I actually was, Messiah, he didn't say that, but that's who he was. If you knew who I actually was, then I could give you living water that would never run dry. And she said, okay, well, how can you do that? You don't even have anything to draw water out with. Like, I have a cup here. I can drink water out of that. She didn't have any, he didn't have anything he could even get water out of that well with. Anyway, she was really interested in this. Well, living water, tell me more about that. And so he said, you know what? Living water that will never run dry. You can have that. That can be something that I give you. And then he went on to tell her more about her own life. She said, oh, I'm going to go back and tell my husband. He said, no, you have more than one. And basically told her more about her own situation. And this really was a reboot for her. That's what this conversation was. It was a reboot in her life. The woman came to the well to get water. She met Jesus. Her life got rebooted. It got restarted. She found out who he actually was. She found out that, oh my word, I'm talking to a prophet. I'm talking to a really important man. I need to go back and tell others. And that's what she did. She went back and told other people, you'll never believe who I've met. You'll never believe who's out there. You'll never believe what he told me about my life. He told me everything about my life. That's actually not what he said. He said a couple things, but she interpreted it as he knew it all. It was a reboot for her, and you can imagine how much her life changed after this conversation. You can imagine how much she wanted that living water rather than just a drink from the well. There's so many other stories I could tell from the Bible. Another one that rings a bell with me is the Philippian jailer. I'm not going to go into that, but his life was rebooted in an instant after an earthquake. He became a follower of Jesus, and his whole family did, and they all got baptized. So it can happen. If you're going through struggles, if you face some of these things I talked about, whether that be a job loss during lockdown, or whether that be how do I handle this at home, or whether that be illness, or you know someone who's had COVID, or you've had it yourself. You know what? A reboot can happen. That's the business that Jesus is in. That's what that conversation was all about with the woman at the well. It was about changing her perception. It was about changing who she was. Same with the Philippian jailer. He went from just being a jailer to being a son of God. and his whole family did as well, and they rejoiced that night, and they had Paul and Silas into their house to break bread and to have conversation and to pray together. Their life changed. I'm so thankful mine has as well, and yours maybe has, and yours can. So I just like to pray as I finish here. Pray for anyone who's watching this video live, or anyone who's going to watch this video as it's out on Facebook from now until people don't watch it anymore. Just want to pray that you will be able to accept whatever reboot is happening in your life, and maybe the reboot you need is to become a follower of Christ. What a fantastic thing. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to close my eyes. Just find that easier to do when I pray. Dear Jesus, I thank you so much that you care for each and every person who's watching this video. I thank you so much that you care for me, and even the small things like my phone getting okay and my computer being fixed. You care about those things. Lord, I thank you that you have come for each and every person watching today and tomorrow and the day after that, and you came for the woman at the well, and you came for the Philippian jailer, and you came and you gave yourself as a sacrifice, a sinless sacrifice. Father, I want to ask that if there are people who are watching that need a reboot in their life, that they would be able to come to you and ask Jesus into their lives, ask Jesus to be the Lord of their lives, and to have that change that takes place on the inside that can then be lived out on the outside. We thank you that you are a God of transformation, and you're a God of so many chances, and you give us an opportunity to reboot things. Lord, I want to pray for people who have been through such difficulty in this time. And I think I can think of some in my own life here in Overton who have been through so much and who are going through so much. Possibly due to lockdown, possibly just due to other aspects of life. Lord, I pray that you would be so close to them. That you would be right in the middle of their situation. And for anyone watching this video, you'd be right in the middle of their situation. Thank you for your love for us. Amen. Hey, it's been great being with you all. I hope you enjoy a bit of my stories. They've been fun to live out in some respect, but it's nice to have my mobile back. It's nice to have my computer back, and Amy's really enjoyed having Blue back. Take care.